to Boardrooms, Babies, and Bubbly. I am your host, Mots Ehouman, and in this episode, we explore the intricate dance between our personal lives and our professional lives. So let's get straight into it. Is work-life balance truly achievable? And is it something that we should actually be striving for? Now, this is a debate that's been raging for years and is one that is starting to transform how we think about the future of work. So, I've personally struggled with the idea of work-life balance, right? Having to create such strict and rigid boundaries between your work life and your family life, and just having to compartmentalize your life in this way kind of goes against something I truly value. And it's this idea of being able to bring my whole self seamlessly to all spheres of my life. It works for some, but that's just some of the reasons why work-life balance hasn't worked for me. You'll find a lot more people nowadays being more comfortable with the idea of work-life integration. I also think that the pandemic kind of forced all of us to embrace this idea of work-life integration. You know, for the first time, the sort of the lines between our work life and family life became less rigid. If anything, they became quite blurred, sometimes to our detriment, I must say. But having said that, this idea of work-life integration really gives us all a little bit more autonomy over how we allocate our time and energy, to work, to our family lives, or even just to our personal passions as well. However, having said that, and I shared with you all kind of the benefits of work-life integration and how we all started to embrace it, I do think the challenge sometimes with the lines being so blurred between work and family personal life is that we struggle to be fully present. Everything is demanding our time and our focus and our energy, making it quite difficult to be fully immersed and fully focused on the one thing that you're doing in that moment, right? So let me give an example of this because I'm guilty of this sometimes. Say, for example, I decide to go and attend a gymnastics class or a gymnastics grading. Being a working mom, I'm not always able to go to all of these extracurricular activities. So when I do find the chance to go, I'm there, right? But then sometimes what I find myself doing, and not intentionally, is I'll get to the gymnastics class and be fully in it for like the first 5-10 minutes, right? And then I kind of think, got a little bit of downtime, my phone comes out, I start to see it as an opportunity to maybe clear my inbox or finally get to that email that I've been parking for a while. And then all of a sudden, what was supposed to be me being fully present in this gymnastics class and like being there to support my daughter, I get distracted and then work creeps in. And this happens vice versa, right? And that is why now of late, I am 100% buying into this idea of work-life choices and work-life trade-offs, which is, I think, what we actually do on a day-to-day. And the more comfortable we can become with that idea, I think the better, right? So as I was thinking about this topic, I just so happened to come across something that was shared on an Instagram page called This Is Anya. And what they wrote was this. They said, there is no such place as perfect balance as a working mom. It is a constantly swinging pendulum. Some days you will crush it as a mom, and then some days you'll be a rock star at work. Most often, these are not the same days. And it's so true, right? And I think the more comfortable we get with that, the easier it is for us to accept the decisions and the choices we have to make when it comes to, trying to integrate or balance your work and your personal life. I recently was faced with a pretty challenging, I guess, work-life choice trade-off situation. At work, we had this meeting with key stakeholders. It was a meeting abroad. We'd been talking about it for many months, and I had a really, important role to play in this meeting. It just so happened that when the school calendar came out, the first day of grade 1, which is in essence like the first day of big school, the first day of like formal schooling, coincided with the first day of this meeting, this workshop. And interestingly, the choice was a very easy one to make. There was no ways I was going to miss the first day of big school, right? And I'm very fortunate to be in an organization with leaders who also felt the same way, that was probably the only choice to make. However, I did struggle a little bit with having to make that trade-off, right? Some of the things that came to mind is, oh man, how does this look? How does this land? Does it make me seem like I'm not fully committed, or is it career limiting? And as you all know, a lot of the time when we have these internal conversations, it's exactly that, right? It's not even real. People aren't even thinking that. But then what made this trade-off or this choice a little easier for me to accept, I guess, is that now when I make decisions, when I'm faced with these work-life choices or trade-offs, I always think about whether or not in 5 years would I regret the choice that I made, or was that the right decision? And I knew for sure that in 5 years I would absolutely regret having not been there for the first day of grade 1. And this also happens vice versa, right? There have been times when I've had a very exciting work assignment that I know I'm going to learn from. I know it's going to stretch me, but it does require the extra hours. And that's a choice that I've made sometimes, right? Like I want to go fully in, which then means the downside of that is maybe I'll miss a few evenings of tucking my daughter in or reading a story. But I know 5 years from now, when I look back on that moment, I'll be so happy that I made that choice because I would have learned so much from that project, whatever the case is. And my daughter probably will be forgiving, or probably would have forgotten that I missed 1 or 2 nights of story time. But it goes back to this idea of constantly having to make these choices, constantly having to make these trade-offs. And instead of seeing that in a negative light, kind of embracing it. I've also found what makes it easier to embrace it is you being really clear on what it is that you value, being very clear on the type of life you want to create and curate for yourself, so that when you are forced to make these decisions, you know deep down you've made the right decision for that moment. And it's in line with what it is that you value and what it is that you want for your life and how you want to live your life. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you in this episode. I'd love to hear from you. What works for you? Is it balance? Is it integration? Is it having to make these work life choices? Whatever it is, there's no right or wrong, but I think it's important for us to share our experiences, share our learnings. So like I said, go ahead and comment and make sure that you subscribe, and we shall connect next time on Boardrooms, Babies, and Bubbly. Cheers.